Hey, this is C&D Chow. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Bellator 107, Kongo versus Graham, which happens on November 8th. Overall, the card, mixed bag, I suppose, you know. Some of these tournament finals aren't too bad. Parlo versus Ward's pretty good. Ward and Marx could be interesting. It could be a grinder. On the prelims, you have Pitbull, Freire, Mucitelli, Raphael, Butler, so that's pretty good. The main event just doesn't do it for me too much. I mean, there's an interesting style matchup here with Peter Graham and his kickboxing and Cheick Kongo. Martin Stapleton's fighting. He's not a bad prospect. He's fighting Campos. Not a bad prospect either. So, kind of a mixed bag for me. More good than bad for sure. I guess the thing that's really not making me like jump out of my seat. There's nothing about this card that's like wow to me. To me personally. Nonetheless, I think it's a good card. I just don't think it's a great card. Especially coming, yeah. So let's get started. Cheick Kongo fights Peter Graham. Well, Peter Graham has a 9-5 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by decision. All 5 of his losses are by submission. He's 38 years old on an 8-fight win streak. That one decision win was to Eric Prindle. I mean, he kept punching the guy and kicking the guy and he wouldn't go down. This guy has some really strong leg kicks. His overall kickboxing, I mean, he's competed all over the place. I mean, he's really well-known kickboxer. I'm most impressed by his kicks and especially his leg kicks. Cheick Kongo, 19-8 record with 2 draws, 11 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub, has 1 submission by strikes, and 3 losses by KO or TKO. Also 38 years old, he's so far trading wins and losses. He does have some good kickboxing, some strong knees, and his offensive takedowns are improving, especially from the clinch. His clinch game's pretty good. He's kind of weak on the ground. His chin, I personally feel, is deteriorating. He gets wobbled a lot these days, if not wobbled, straight up knocked down or knocked out. And he's notorious for low blows in the clinch position. You know, the thing is here, I'm going to go Cheick Kongo. Here's the thing. Like I said, his chin, I really feel, is deteriorating. I just think that he's getting older. He's facing a lot of heavy hitters. He's been knocked down. He's been wobbled. He's been knocked out. Peter Graham is capable of knocking Cheick Kongo out. It's not inconceivable. However, the way I see the fight playing out, and you saw this against like Matt Mitrione or Sean Jordan and some other guys, Kongo likes to clinch against the cage. Throw some knees, maybe go for a pretty ugly looking takedown. Peter Graham's not that great on the ground. Kongo will go for some ground and pound. And that's how he, you know, outside of the Godbeer fight, that's kind of how Cheick Kongo's been fighting as of late. You know, more clinch heavy, more wary of the takedown, a little less output in the stand-up, you know. Definitely likes his distance these days is his opponent against the cage. I mean, that's his more favorable position. And I think Kongo, because he has some offensive grappling, I just think he has more ways, and not more ways to win, but he has that to fall back on, and I think he'll use that to a great extent against Peter Graham. So I gotta go Cheick Kongo. I have a feeling he's gonna really clinch him a lot, push him up against the cage, maybe go for takedowns, maybe go for a ground and pound. Because like I said, against like Sean Jordan, Mitrione, you know, just a lot of opponents as of late. That's just how Cheick Kongo's been fighting. Next fight after that, Travis Marx fights Joe Warren. Well, Travis Marx has a 21-4 record with 1 no contest, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. He's 36 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Training out of Jackson's. He has some good wrestling. He's good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He actually knocked out his last opponent. But Joe Warren, 9-3 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO, and he's 37 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Most recently winning with like a triangle armbar, if I'm not mistaken, on his last opponent, Nick Kirk, if I'm not mistaken. He does have Olympic level Greco-Roman wrestling. He's relentless about getting takedowns. He does have good ground and pound, good top control. And his defense in the stand-up is atrocious. This guy, I say this all the time about Joe Warren, and despite the win over Nick Kirk, I don't think anything's really changed. I mean, he just has really bad defense. I mean, even on the ground, I mean, his idea of defending a triangle choke is like muscling out of it, you know, or like an armbar or something. That's the thing. He just isn't good defensively. Despite that, I think he beats Travis Marx. I think this fight is going to be a lot tougher for Joe Warren than it might look, though, because Travis Marx is a pretty good wrestler himself. He's a good grappler in his own right. He's pretty big for the weight class, too. Joe Warren's honestly isn't that big for 135. I gotta even wonder if he can cut to 125. Despite that, I think he gets a clinch a lot. He'll definitely, you know, he likes to work stand-up a lot, even though he gets hit clean and hard. I think he'll stand with Marx when he can, and he's got to watch out there. I think eventually he'll go back to his roots of wrestling and whatnot and use his grappling to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, Mikkel Parlo fights Brennan Ward. Well, Ward has an 8-1 record with 5 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. 25 years old on a 3-fight win streak. He's a good boxer. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's good. I have seen him, though, against Justin Torrey, for example. And even in his last fight against, is it Pacheco? I think it's Pacheco. You know, he is able to get out-grappled sometimes. Good thing with Mikkel Parlo. I mean, he only has 11-1 record, 7 wins by KO TKO, only 7 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. The thing with Parlo, though, is he's mainly a kickboxer. He's 23 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Then that win streak, he beat like Brian Rogers, and he beat Jason Butcher in his last fight. Training out of Extreme Couture, and some strong kickboxing, and actually some pretty solid takedown defense. This guy just has a really low center of gravity, so it's somewhat difficult to take him down. He fought really smart against Butcher. I think he's a better kickboxer than Ward, to be perfectly honest with you. He'll use punches and kicks, and his timing's pretty good as well. I'm gonna go with Mikkel Parlo to win this one, and I gotta say, you know, the middleweight tournament for this season has been an utter, like, you know, no one's talked about it, but I gotta say, like, the thing that I like about this middleweight tournament for Bellator is, like, Bellator went back to the roots of finding just a bunch of unknown prospects and putting them up against each other. There weren't too many former UFC fighters, you know. You had guys like Perry Filkins, Justin Torrey, Brennan Ward, Jason Butcher, Mikkel Parlo, I mean, Joe Pacheco. I mean, it's just like, who are these guys? Jeremy Kimball, you know. So I like that they did that with, especially with middleweight, because it's hard to find great prospects, and I don't think any of these guys like Ward or Parlo are like great prospects by any stretch. But it's nice that they actually found young prospects for middleweight outside of the UFC, and just some new faces too, you know. So I've actually been pleasantly surprised by the middleweight tournament. A lot of people just totally overlook it. I mean, it's not. I mean, no one knows who these guys are, but I actually like that. You know, that I always thought that's kind of what Bellator is all about when they started. It's finding like the most unknown prospects and giving them exposure, putting them through the tournament and whatnot. Okay, next fight after that, Derek Campos fights Martin Stapleton. Well, Campos has a 12-3 record with 3 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He's 25 years old and a 3-fight win streak. Martin Stapleton has a 12-2 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by sub. And he's 30 years old. He lost his last fight against Cheick Kongo. No surprise there. Cheick Kongo's actually not that bad. He's not like some great prospect, but he is a good fighter with heavy hands and an underrated ground game. Definitely too much. The thing with Stapleton, I know he has like good cardio. He's kind of like good everywhere, but not great anywhere. His stand-up, if you watch some of his fights, it's good. It's solid. And his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and his grappling, it's good. But it's not. There's nothing great about Martin Stapleton that I've noticed in his skill set personally. But he's good everywhere. I think that'll carry him actually in this fight. I'm actually going to go with Martin Stapleton to win this one. Okay, on to the prelims. James Edson Berto fights Patricky Pitbull Freire. Okay, Berto has a 17-10 record with 1 draw, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 9 wins by sub. He also has 1 submission by strikes. He has 3 losses by KO or TKO. He's 30 years old. Got some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and some strong leg locks. He just beat Bruno Carvalho by heel hook. And 9 of his submission wins, all 9 of his submission wins except for that submission by strikes, were by heel hook. So, seriously, the thing that Patricky Pitbull's got to worry about really is the leg locks. Pitbull has a 10-5 record, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub, 27 years old, on a 3-fight losing streak. He just lost to Derek Anderson in his last fight. Trains out of Team Nogueira. He's got some heavy hands, some good knees. One of his problems, though, is he tends to brawl a lot. He tends to gas because he brawls. And his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game actually is pretty solid. It's just that, I can't really explain it. I don't know if the grappling tires him out or whatnot. It's definitely not his strongest point. His stand-up is stronger than his ground game. I almost never pick against Patricky Pitbull, and I won't here because Berto really, in my opinion, has one avenue to win. So I'll go with Patricky Pitbull to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, Jonas Billstein fights Cortez Coleman. Well, Cortez Coleman has a 9-4 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by sub. He's 31 years old and trains out of Finney's Hit Squad. Jonas Billstein has an 11-3 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's only 22 years old. He's actually fought guys like Attila Vey and some pretty good level of competition, actually. I'm going to go Jonas Billstein to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, Matt Jones fights Linton Vassell. Matt Jones has a 4-5 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. Has 2 losses by KO or TKO, and he's 31 years old. On a 2-fight losing streak, Linton Vassell has an 11-3 record with 1 no contest, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. He's 30 years old on a 6-fight win streak. Gotta go with the guy on the better win streak, not the guy on the losing streak who has a losing record. So I'll go with Linton Vassell to win this one. Next fight after that, Ryan McCurdy fights Mike Mucitelli. Mike Mucitelli has a undefeated 5-0 record with 1 no contest, 1 win by TKO, 4 wins by sub. He's 29 years old. He is a finisher with some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He only has 5-6 fights, but I think those 4 submission ones are 2 are armbar, 1 was rear naked choke, 1 was triangle choke. So he does have some diversity in his ground game. And Mucitelli's never been past the first round. Ryan McCurdy has an 8-3 record, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO, and he's 28 years old. I gotta go with Mike Mucitelli to keep his undefeated record. And I think this fight's at 205 at light heavyweight. And one thing that's really interesting with Bellator in 205 is, besides King Mo losing to Emmanuel Newton, is that I don't know where Bellator found these guys, but they actually are finding some pretty decent light heavyweight prospects outside the UFC, and it's really hard to do. Brandon Halsey is a really good prospect for light heavyweight. Same with Liam McGreary. The guy's 6'6", 6'7". He's really tall. with some good stand-up. Mike Mucitelli's not too bad. Gotta see what this Ryan McCurdy brings. Maybe he's good. He's only 28. Maybe he sucks. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm picking Mike Mucitelli to win that one. Okay, next fight after that. I think this is heavyweights. Yes, got a heavyweight prospect here as Raphael Butler fights Josh Burns. Well, Butler has a 7-0 undefeated record, 5 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. Also has 1 submission win by strikes. He's 29 years old. He's a 6'3 heavyweight, so he's not like a small heavyweight by any means. He is a finisher, and he's never been past the second round, and he's got some heavy hands. Josh Burns, 7-6 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub, 1 submission win by strikes. He has 3 losses by KO or TKO, 3 losses by sub, so all his losses are by finish. I'll go with Raphael Butler to win this one. And finally, Chris Jones fights Robert White. Chris Jones, according to the Bellator fight card page, it said that Chris Jones had a 6-2 record. Under the Fight Finder, I actually couldn't find another Chris Jones with a 6-2 record, so I'm not too sure. I couldn't research both these guys because Robert White also has no pro MMA fights. So I'll just go with the guy who has an actual MMA record. I'll go with Chris Jones to win this one. So to recap the main card, I have Cheick Kongo over Peter Graham, Joe Warren over Travis Marx, Mikkel Parlo beating Brennan Ward, and Martin Stapleton over Derek Campos. On the prelims, I got Patricky Pitbull Freire beating James Edson Berto, Jonas Billstein over Cortez Coleman, Linton Vassell over Matt Jones, Mike Mucitelli over Ryan McCurdy, Raphael Butler beating Josh Burns, and Chris Jones over Robert White. So that's it for my Bellator 107 predictions. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.